right. Good day to everybody. Thank you for making time for our symposium today. It's titled Bringing Together AI, Artificial Intelligence, STEM, which has many definitions, but we'll go as science, technology, engineering, medicine, math, and government information. I'm Jen Sims, a STEM librarian at Indiana University Libraries and the co-chair of the Association of College and Research Libraries Science and Technology Government Information Committee. It's a mouthful, and I promise it's shorter if I just do acronyms, but we want to make sure we all know who's here. I want to thank all of our committee members and speakers for making this 2-hour event happen today. We are recording the session and it will be posted on our YouTube channel. I will share all the information and links in the chat once we're rolling. We'll have time at the end of each speaker's talk for questions and answers, about 5 minutes. You may use the chat function or raise your hand to ask in person during the Q&A sessions. And without further ado, please help me welcome Sam Putnam, STS, Council Chair and Director of the Dibner Library at New York University. Sam will introduce the symposium. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Hi, everyone. My name is Sam Putnam. I'm Director of the Dibner Library at New York University, and I'm also the Chair of the Science and Technology section of ACRL. And I will be in that position for just a few more days until we turn that cycle over again. Thank you so much for making time in your schedule today to come and join this symposium with us. I do want to also say thank you to the committee and all the folks who put in so much great work, as well as all the folks presenting today. This sort of event is really a representation of some of the great work that comes out of the sections in ACRL. So if you found value in this programming and really appreciated it and learned something from it, then please feel free to reach out and share that with us after the fact, because it really helps us decide what sort of programming and things we should be doing. That being said, I told Jen I would keep my comments very brief, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Anna. Thank you so much for joining us today, though.
Thank you, Sam. Welcome, everyone. Again, I'm Anna Xiong, Government Information Coordinator at Founder Library from Rice University and the co-chair of this online event planning group. It is my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker today, Dr. Leo Lo. Dr. Lo currently serves as president of ACRL and is a board member of the ACRL AI Competencies for Library Workers Task Force. He is the current dean of the College of University Libraries and Learning Sciences at the University of New Mexico, and will soon be joining University of Virginia, taking on the new role of Dean of Libraries and University Librarian, advisor to the Provost on AI Literacy and Professor of Education. Dr. Lo's keynote speech today is titled, Whose Content Is It Anyway? Copyright, Ethics, and AI. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Leo Lo. Dr. Lo, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much, Anna, and thank you so much for having me here. It looks like a fantastic symposium. Look at the content. I want to listen to all the talks, and it's great to see so many of you being able to join us. So AI is a really broad topic. So today I'm just going to be focusing on just one tiny bit of it, but a very important bit. Since 2022 November, well, it's been like 2.5 years ago now, when ChatGPT came out, when it was released to the public, basically. And I think we've been living in a very exciting time. AI is really changing the way we create, distribute, engage with information. I remember when it first came out, it was, like I said, in late November, and it was around finals time, basically, final assignments, due dates time. And we had so many students coming into my library, asking our staff to find them journals or books, and we could not find them. At that time, we had no idea what's going on. We didn't even know, this has anything to do with ChatGPT. But later on, we found out it's because they used ChatGPT to do some of these assignments, and then it gave them made up citations. And that's why we couldn't find them. Now, those could have been teachable moments for, for us, for the students, but we were not ready because we're just not equipped to do, we didn't know enough about AI. We were not AI literate at that point. And so since then, I've been really pushing hard for us, for librarians, for anybody who works in, information to really learn more about this engagement. And that's why, as Anna mentioned earlier, as ACRL president, I set up the AI competencies for library workers task force to develop a set of competencies to help us develop training programs so that we can upskill. And I just want to say upfront that as a ACRL leader or as a dean, I am not neither pro AI or anti AI, but I'm very pro engaging with the technology, pro learning about it. So whether you're for it or you're against it, I think your arguments are going to be stronger if you learn more about it. So let's get into the content today. Whose content is it anyway? Why did I title that? It's because as we learn more about AI's kind of how it works, in that we learn how these large language models or any other kind of generative AI models, how they scrape the internet and get as much data as possible to train their models. And that brings up some questions, right? Is that what gave them the rights to copy or borrow or use these copyrighted content, a lot of them copyrighted content in their training model. And they use that to generate text and images, music, videos, and all the things you've seen today. So how do we ensure that there's fairness for the people who created those content? How can we harness AI's potential while protecting intellectual property? So we're going to look at both challenges and opportunities that AI presents. And it is something that we need to understand, manage, and shape so it works for us, not against us. One thing that I think is really important to look at these generative AI models is that blurred lines between original and derivative works. It makes a huge difference in how we decide what is, how we decide whether it's actually copying or not. So next slide, please. So why don't we start with a scenario? You spend, let's say, 2 years writing a book, researching, drafting, editing, revising, and then one day you find an AI-generated summary of your book is circulating online. People can type in something, and then you can kind of people can get content from your book. Basically, it's accurate, it's well written, free, and it's competing with your own work. For example, somebody used AI to write another book similar to yours. You never approved it. You're not getting paid. So who owns that content? Is it the AI user who prompted, who asked the whatever model they use to spit it out, or the company that built the AI, or does it belong to the original creators whose work trained the AI in the first place? So the answer is no one really knows at this point. Even the courts don't have really clear answers at this point. And this is what I want to talk about today, because AI is disrupting the very concept of copyright, and we need to figure out how to adapt. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about this thing called the chain of title problem. So AI can copy you, but you cannot really prove it. That's the problem. So in traditional copyright, it requires a clear chain of title. But AI content, AI generated content has this, but doesn't really have a source tracking. There's no legal paper trail. So an AI company can argue, say, oh, it's coincidence, it's not copying. So that puts the burden, the responsibility on the creators to prove that AI outputs are directly influenced by their work, which is almost impossible because right now we're looking at We even call these AI model a black box because they were trained on all these data, but we don't know how it develop the output, basically. There's a lot of things going on in there in between. So that becomes really almost impossible for creators to prove that the AI outputs are directly related or influenced by their work. Next slide, please. So what is chain of title? Why does it matter? We start with the basics. Chain of title is the legal process that proves who owns a piece of intellectual property. Now, in traditional publishing or filmmaking or music, ownership must be meticulously documented. So before, let's say, Netflix buys a script or a publisher acquires a book, they ask for a chain of title report to prove that every part of the work is legally owned. That includes the author who wrote the manuscript and can prove it. The music used in the film is properly licensed. The artwork on the book cover has copyright clearance. I remember I studied screenwriting in school. I have a degree in that. It was way back then. And one of the things that our instructors, our professors would teach us was after you finish a script, put it in an envelope, mail it to yourself, and never open it. So you have the dates, you have all these things, and it's to prove that you wrote that's yours. So there's all these different things to prove the chain of title. And this system ensures that no one can falsely claim ownership and that companies don't accidentally infringe on someone else's rights. So it's a really important part of copyright. Next slide, please. Now, if we compare it to AI-generated content, AI models don't really follow these rules. When an AI generates, say, text, art, or music, it doesn't track where it learned those ideas from. So AI is not like a researcher who keeps notes or citations. It's more like a student who absorbs everything in class, but then forgets where they learned that from. No, not a lot of citations or anything, but they can't remember what these things are. So AI doesn't work like a human author. It doesn't get an idea, research it, and then write from scratch. And instead is trained on enormous data sets, millions of books, articles, images, often scraped without permission. And then it generates that content that feels original, but it's actually a very sophisticated mix of existing materials. So if an AI was trained on thousands of books and then writes something that sounds just like yours, did it really create something new? Or did it learn from your work without giving you credit? This is the key copyright question AI forces us to think about, to confront. And this is also that chain of title problem. AI doesn't provide a paper trail, making it nearly impossible to win a copyright case against it. Next slide, please. So here's the real life case study. This isn't just a theory, it's happening in court right now. You have probably seen this, very early on, the New York Times has sued OpenAI, arguing that ChatGPT directly reproduces its journalism. But to win, the New York Times has to prove these things, that ChatGPT was trained on New York Times articles, that the AI used New York Times articles in a way that violates fair use, that the AI generated outputs that directly harmed New York Times' business. So what's OpenAI's defense? Well, our model doesn't remember specific training data. Even if the output looks similar, it could have come from anywhere. And because OpenAI doesn't provide a record of what data influences responses, proving this infringement is extremely difficult. So this is kind of the chain of title problem in action. AI doesn't provide that paper trail, like I said, making it almost impossible to win a copyright case against it. This also means that AI companies are kind of legally shielded by the fact that their own system are black box. All this is basically me saying that the current copyright laws are probably not equipped to deal with this new technology. in that they will have to change, but probably it will take a long time. So that's the problem we are facing too. And a lot of legal experts are saying that even with all these lawsuits going on, most of them will probably settle out of court. And so what does that mean for us, for, let's say, librarians, publishers, and other companies, for example? Next slide, please. So in that, a lot of publishers actually are licensing their content to these tech companies already. In that, oh, hey, the thinking is probably you're going to use our data anyways. Why don't we get some more, we should get some money out of it, make some profit. And some companies actually have a compensation structure for their content creators, their authors. Many don't. So this is still kind of the Wild West. People are still figuring out the business models. But how does it affect, let's say, librarians or government information supply chain? So federal reports are in the public domain, yet many state publications and contractor studies are not. So an LLM can ingest them all and spit out very polished summaries without attribution. You kind of blurring the line between public and restricted materials. So if these kind of flawed or summary circulates, users may assume it's official. So that's something to think about, because we cannot, we don't know the data set that these AI models were trained on, and what kind of metadata, what kind of context they have. Worse, agencies cannot, we cannot track whether restricted data was slipped into a training data, because AI companies don't provide any kind of logs for us. So libraries become the last lines of defense in some ways. We must teach our users how to verify content, and information literacy becomes so important nowadays. And so this is what I've been kind of stressing a lot to my library colleagues, in that we want to think about the library's role in the AI embedded world. And one of the key strategic opportunity for us is really to both to stress on information literacy for our users, and also have a voice in working with these tech companies in incorporating information literacy principles in their models, so that when they provide output for their users, there's some kind of guardrails in there. Next slide, please. So with all of that, what can we do today? I talked about some of the things that are a little bit bigger scale, like, to work with tech companies, or think about even advocating for certain regulations. But individually, I think there are, things that we can do. So let's zoom into, let's say, a government information librarian. What can you do as an individual? One, I think we should learn more about AI. I've stressed that we need to be AI literate. We want our users to be AI literate. And so first, we need to learn more. So I would say some kind of micro learning, block out specific time, in a week, in a month, and actually, take some courses. There are webinars to start you out with, like this one. And also there are a lot of structured courses now. And I think those will be really, really useful. And that's the reason I mentioned earlier, in that for ACRL to develop a set of AI competencies, so we can develop those training programs. And research have shown that people who take training programs, the structured ones, have a high understanding and confidence in using AI. And also ACRL, we have a AI discussion group now, so you can join those and kind of share with your peers, and to build a community of practice. So those are very useful, and you can start small, go an hour here, an hour there. This kind of small investments can compound into real expertise before you know it. Second, I think we need to document the way we use AI. Anytime, let's say ChatGPT drafts an answer, be open about it. If you use it for your work, it doesn't hurt to say this task is performed by AI. When ChatGPT first came out and I was telling my staff to use it, I write in my emails and say this is assisted by AI. So people know I'm very transparent about the use of it, and people trust that a little bit more. I think if we start doing that, we may not need to do that forever, because sooner or later AI is going to be embedded in everything. But in the meantime, as there's still a bit of a trust issue with AI, especially with our users, I think it pays for librarians to actually say, I use AI for this part and I didn't use AI. We may not need to say I didn't use AI, but it's always nice to have that kind of transparency. Also, AI models are changing. So third is actually keep checking about these AI models and see where they are now. They keep improving. I remember, like I said, when ChatGPT first came out, it hallucinates a lot with citations. But now, if you use the deep research function, they're pretty much correct. They may not be the best citations or best references that they come up with, but they are accurate. So I would say, spend some time just using it and then checking how accurate they are. And then you get a better sense of how to use it, and then you can get a better sense of how you can teach your users how to use it. Fourth, basically have some kind of pop-up demos. This is one example. Once a month, schedule a 20 minutes, bring your own AI answer session at the service desk on Zoom. Your user can show you an AI-generated claim about something. You demonstrate in real time how to confirm it, how to debunk it. This is pretty low prep, it's high visibility, and can show how important librarians are, how important information literacy skills are. So that's a fun way to engage user. Rights tagging, if you upload let's say state budget PDF, attach some kind of clear rights statement, whether it's public domain or it's a state copyright. This is one thing that I'm thinking a lot about, whether it's using the AI model or training an AI model, in that you put in enough context like metadata for the AI model to understand what the context of it, basically. Because even now, it is still one of the biggest issues with a lot of these AI models. They don't understand nuances. They don't understand context. So if we can kind of test it or think about tagging some of the our information, our data with correct context or metadata, it will probably help. And also keep updated on the latest development. I set a Google alert for key phrases. For you, it could be Copyright Office AI or NARA AI memo, and then it will show up. It will give you the latest news on it. In fact, ChatGPT has that function too with the task function, and I'll put in and say, just every day give me search the web and give me the latest AI news. And we'll do that every day. Disclaimer, like I said earlier, sometimes if you use AI to create a LibGuide or something, or a document, just put it in there and say, this is assisted by AI, and then remind users to verify AI summaries and links, and then teach them how to do that, right? So none of these requires a special budget or a technical support team. You can do it with your own professional judgment and your willingness to be transparent and a commitment to keep learning. So taken together, these habits, I think, can create a more user-focused culture around AI in government information. This is the kind of things we need moving forward. Next slide, please. So we'll end with a roadmap. First, AI is already kind of embedded, through a lot of discovery systems. And history shows that when librarians engage early, like microfiche, online catalogs, the open web, we can control the disruption a bit better and turn it into a better service. So if we treat large language models the same way, test them, verify their results, and then pass along that knowledge. Secondly, we want to respect the public record. Government information is only trustworthy when users can trace it back to an authoritative source. So this means insisting on persistent identifiers, citation, open standards that AI tools can read. I talked about, respecting the content creator with compensations. So we want to champion fair compensations to authors, to content creator, basically. So even federal publications are public domain, but a lot of the other stuff maybe not be. So when AI companies profits from these materials, we or publishers, authors deserve some kind of compensations, just as musicians now receive streaming royalties. So librarians or libraries can advocate for these licensing frameworks that preserve fair use for research while rewarding human creativity. So none of this is solo work, really. We need to coordinate with different organizations like the Copyright Office, NARA, other libraries. We can amplify our influence. Finally, I think this is the most important. We must invest in staff skills. The ACRL is doing the AI competencies now, and we want to make sure that librarians, just like information literacy, librarians should be AI literate moving forward. And if we follow this kind of rough roadmap, we can kind of serve users and the public interest, not the other way around. So last thing I want to say is that the rules are still being written. AI is still changing, and the regulations are changing, the laws are changing, and we at this point can have a voice in it if we choose to. Once they're set, they're very difficult to change. So that's why I really advocate for us to be proactive in this. Next slide, please. So finally, I share a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, feel free to connect with me, follow me, whatever you feel comfortable. I also get a lot of AI news on LinkedIn. So I feel like it's a fantastic platform nowadays to get a lot of the useful information there as well. So I think I'm almost at time. So thank you very much. I think we have a few minutes to answer some questions or just hear your comments or ideas. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. So if you have any questions, if you want to put them in chat or raise your hands for Dr. Lowe. I know I had a question for Dr. Lowe. What do you think of like Harvard now opening up some of their collections to AI companies to make it more accessible?
So I have a lot of thoughts about that, actually. Oxford did it first with their dissertations from the 1400s to the 1800s with OpenAI. But I don't know the details of that deal, so I cannot really say. But if they just give up the data to the tech companies just in exchange for digitization, I don't think that's a very good deal. If all the publishers will be licensing their content to tech companies, for example, and a lot, then what is the library's role in all of this? If everybody can just use ChatGPT to find actual, journal articles through there and access them, what are we going to do? So that means that our unique collections are going to be very unique, very powerful, and we want to leverage that to make sure that we don't just give those away and lose the leverage.
This is Lori Schuhart.
So if we open up our unique content, I think we need to have some kind of clause in the agreement to say that they still belong to us. Other places can to train the data. So even though if even though they're open, we still retain some rights to it. And but with AI, I think that's a great technology for our special collections because for most libraries, 80% of the stuff have not been processed yet, and they're not available, they're not accessible. But with AI, I think they can become accessible quite easily, and that's always good. So there are both opportunities and some challenges that we need to think about a little bit more. But I would love to learn a little bit more about both Harvard and Oxford, what are their actual agreements, basically.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, we have a question from the chat. So, Dr. Lowe, what advice do you give to library leaders to help librarians develop AI literacies and skills, especially in light of reducing budgets and escalating demands to do more with fewer people?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I've been doing a lot of both research and kind of implementation on that. I don't think it takes a lot of budget to do it. There are several barriers. One is time. And how do we do this, learn this if we are already busy? We're doing a lot of work. So, and I'll be happy to share one of my case studies with you. We did a pilot study in my own college in that we get people to design their own projects that's directly related to their work. So they're not really taking more time out, they're actually doing work, but using AI models like ChatGPT or the paid version of it. So they're doing their work using AI, doing by learning, and then we share as a community of practice. We get together every other week to share the tips and the challenges. So we learn together, learn prompting, and then we pay a little bit for the subscription, and then they're using it for their work. And then they can tell whether that is actually helping them or not helping them. Are they saving time or are they transforming their work? So instead of me as a dean telling them, you need to use AI for these things, they design it and then they find out whether it's good. And then they tell me whether they want to use AI for those work. And then I can think about how to integrate it into the library's operation overall. Instead of me, not a non-expert in so many fields, telling them they need to do that. So I feel like that's been working quite well.
Yeah, that's great. I'm looking for any more questions. I know webinars like this always help, but keeping up. So you were saying we should maybe add more metadata into some of our websites and our data that we put out there. Do you think that new models in AI are taking that into consideration, or do they strip that type of information?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's something I want to advocate for, is that if we provide content, let's say, like you said in the Harvard and the or even the Oxford case, if we actually open up our content for these tech companies, we want to actually ensure that they use our metadata and not just, just have these data in there without any kind of context. So with metadata, they can provide actually more accurate information for the users.
Okay, so we're almost out of time. Did anyone else have any more questions, or do we need to go on to our next speaker? Okay, well, maybe, Anna, we should go on to our next speaker. Thank you, Dr. Lowe.
Thank you so much.
Oh, maybe last question. Tatiana send a question.
Oh, I didn't see. Okay, here's one more. I can see some librarians using AI-generated pictures in their presentations. Should we care about copyright there?
Yeah, even if we care, I don't know the answer to that, whether that's a violating or not violating copyright laws at this point, based on the current copyright laws. So I would say, let people know. But until we get some decisions from court, I don't even know whether that's, okay or not. So use your own ethical morality lens on that then. But legally, I think it's still okay.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Low, for your thought-provoking keynote and so many good suggestions for librarians and for future possible collaboration. And also thank you for taking the time to engage with our questions. We truly appreciate your insights and the meaningful discussion you've sparked today. Let's keep the momentum going with our next speaker. It's my great pleasure to introduce Nalini Mummalaneri, Senior Legal Advisor at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Ms. Mummalaneri brings a wealth of expertise from the Office of Patent Legal Administration, where she plays a key role in shaping patent policy and examination guidance, particularly in areas such as subject matter eligibility and disclosure requirements. She also leads efforts related to artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. And her talk is titled Artificial Intelligence and the USPTO. Let's give a warm welcome to Ms. Mummalaneri. Please take it away.
Thank you, Anna. Can we move on to the next slide, please, Stephanie? Thanks. So as most of you know, the USPTO is a federal agency under the Department of Commerce. We grant patents, register trademarks, and advise the president through the Secretary of Commerce on intellectual property policy. AI is being increasingly integrated with and deployed into a variety of sectors. If you look at patent application filings, AI now amounts to over 50% of all technology subclasses in the classification system that USPTO uses to classify patent applications. So what is the USPTO doing when it comes to AI? Let's go to the next slide, Stephanie. We are engaging with the AI community through the AI and Emerging Technology Partnership. We have been issuing AI-related examination guidance to examine patent applications. We are also incorporating AI into our day-to-day operations. Next slide, please. So coming to the stakeholder engagement aspect of it. The AI and Emerging Technologies Partnership has been engaging with stakeholders on USPTO's AI ET efforts, such as using AI and emerging technologies within the agency to enhance the quality and efficiency of patent and trademark examination. We were also using this platform to seek public's views on various intellectual property policy issues that uniquely affect this community. Because AI plays such an important role in the invention creation process, the USPTO have been engaging with stakeholders on the topic of inventorship through RFCs and AI-ET partnership events. We heard from a diverse array of stakeholders on this issue. We issued an RFC seeking stakeholder input on inventorship for AI-assisted inventions. We also held 2 listening sessions to gather stakeholder feedback. We received 69 written comments to the RFC and had great participation in the listening sessions. Many speakers and commenters called for the USPTO to take action by providing clarity around AI-assisted inventions. And coming to another topic, we published a request for comment on the impact of AI on prior art and person having ordinary skill in the art last year, April. So the RFC had 3 sets of questions directed to prior art, the person having ordinary skill in the art, and questions on the need for examination guidance and if any legislative changes are required while looking at AI, while applying the patent laws to AI. Regarding prior art, overall, majority of the commenters stated that the current law and USPTO practice are sufficient to address the issues raised in the RFC, and that the term person in the person having ordinary skill in the art is a natural person. Stakeholder feedback from all these responses to the RFCs . And the listening sessions had been informing us of the USPTO guidance related to AI. Coming to the examination guidance, we issued inventorship guidance for AI-assisted inventions in February last year. The AI inventorship issue was brought up in a recent Federal Circuit case, Taylor v. Vidal, decided in August 2022. And we issued the guidance on the inventorship issue in view of this decision. The Federal Circuit said that the Patent Act supports the customary meaning that an individual is an actual person, that is a human being. Now the guidance that we provided in view of that decision applies to utility, plan, and design patent applications. Now the Federal Register notice says that the AI-assisted inventions are not categorically unpatentable for improper inventorship, and that the focus of the inventorship determination must be on human contributions. In July of last year, we issued the 2024 guidance update on patent subject matter eligibility, including on artificial intelligence. It provides an overview of the USPTO's existing subject matter eligibility guidance for 35 U.S.C. 101. That is in the MPEP, which is the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure, a guidance document which is used by patent examiners and patent practitioners when they are prosecuting the patent applications with the USPTO. And the guidance addresses certain areas that are particularly relevant to AI inventions, that is, inventions related to AI technology. The guidance update also provides additional discussion based on recent Federal Circuit case law and USPTO issued examples of Step 2A of the USPTO subject matter eligibility analysis, which evaluates whether a claim is directed to a judicial exception. The three new examples that were announced in the guidance update, they illustrate how the USPTO's existing subject matter eligibility guidance applies to AI-related inventions. These examples assist the USPTO personnel and stakeholders during patent examination, appeal, and post-patent proceeding processes. Now, let's go to the next slide, Stephanie. Yep. So we also issued in April guidance to practitioners on the use of AI tools in practice before the USPTO. The guidance provides some important pointers to consider while drafting documents to be submitted to the USPTO, while interacting with the USPTO IT systems and websites, while making filings with the office, etc. It also covers some possible issues associated with clients' sensitive information when you're using AI tools in practice before the office. Now, the guidance does not prohibit the use of AI tools because these tools have the potential to lower the barriers and costs of practicing before the office, as well as helping practitioners offer services to their clients with improved quality and efficiency. Instead, the guidance reminds individuals involved in the proceedings before the office of the pertinent rules and policies that they have to keep in mind while they are using these tools. The guidance addresses our professional responsibility rules overall, as well as specific duties for patent applicants, trademark applicants, and those who are practicing before the PTAB and TTAB, which is the Patent Trial and Appeal Board and the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board. The guidance does not introduce any new rules or duties, but it explains how our current rules and policies address potential misconduct that may occur when we are using these tools. Let's go to the next slide, Stephanie. Thanks. Now, coming to so far, I discussed the guidance that we issued with regards to the examination guidance, like policy aspects. Now, coming to how we are using AI within our operations, this is just a demonstration of a couple of tools. that are available to the examiners for prior art searches in patents end-to-end, which is also called PE2E, a search interface a search tool that the examiners use to find prior art when they are examining novelty, non-obviousness related criteria when they are assessing the inventions for patentability. We have been introducing some AI tools into PE2E. One is more like this document feature. The other one is the similarity search feature. The OG notices, the official gazette notices are listed here if you want to know more details about these tools. The more like this feature, it uses AI algorithms to generate a list of domestic or foreign patent documents that are similar to the specific patent documents that you're trying to find prior art for. The similarity is determined based on the full text and metadata of the patent document. The AI algorithm here is trained using similarity scores from worldwide examiner citations, classifications, applications like family data, and human-rated similarity scores also. The similarity scores are updated weekly so that the information is new. Coming to the similarity search feature, it receives examiner-selected application information, including the specification and claims, which are parts of the patent application. It receives them as input and uses trained AI models to output a list of domestic and foreign patent documents that are similar to the patent application that is being searched. The examiner has the capability to refine the AI-based similarity search queries using classification and text snippet selection capabilities. As a result, this provides the examiner with flexibility to emphasize certain aspects of the invention to get better results while they are conducting the examination process. This feature provides significantly faster results for examiners when compared to the retired legacy system which it replaced. AI models that are supporting this feature are trained using publicly available patent data, including the disclosure text, patent classifications, document citations, and human-rated similarity. So we took a few measures to ensure that these are securely implemented. To ensure data security and to maintain patent application confidentiality, we implemented the National Institute of Standards and Technology, the NIST security controls. The search queries using this feature are run within the US video system boundaries using a FedRAMP authorized cloud. And when we are using these features, how are we showing, being transparent about use of these features, and how are we documenting it so that they can be later on used for different purposes like validating the document, etc. Search recordation, in order to give clear notice to the public that AI features were used, the PE2E search history indicates that AI search capabilities were used using that text. For example, when more like this feature is used, the search query field of the search history shows artificial intelligence in brackets, and then the particular feature, which is more like document with a colon and the document number of the anchor document, which is being searched. Now, this search is followed by the IDs of the documents that are retrieved using that search. Similar search history printout is created for the SIM search feature also. For the SIM search feature, because we are searching applications that might not have been published, we incorporate measures to ensure confidentiality of these applications. When we have a search on an unpublished application, the application number is printed as unpublished application number with the CPC and text selections not being available. In addition to these two features that I discussed, we are also incorporating AI for other areas of examining. Like, for example, when we are classifying documents, we are using the AI features to do that. We are continuing to assess and monitor the usage of these tools, examiners have conducted millions of searches using these features. We are incorporating feedback to further fine-tune these systems as they mature. These tools are, the advantage we saw with these tools is that they are capable of retrieving patent documents from over 60 countries. This is helping examiners to more successfully retrieve not only US-based prior art, but also relevant foreign prior art information also to improve the quality of examination. And the human-centric approach, these features are optional. They are available to the examiners. And the examiner, once the documents are retrieved using these features, they decide whether the prior art reference output could be used in their office action or not. Because this presentation is only regarding the patent side of the office, I'm not going into more details about the tools that are available to the trademark side of our office. We have tools like trademark image search tool, trademark design code classification, etc. We have like a suite of tools available in that area also. And for our stakeholders who are visiting our USPTO websites, we have the USPTO virtual assistant tool, which leveraged machine learning to offer improved services to customers visiting certain trademark and patents pages. We also recently introduced new AI tool to search design patents. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, coming to, we are continuing to test and experiment with trusted generative AI tools for official business in a secure, well-monitored sandbox. And President Trump's recent AI executive order that was issued in January, removing barriers to American leadership in artificial intelligence, shows that the administration is dedicated to America's global leadership in AI technology innovation. The EU calls for sustaining and enhancing America's AI dominance to promote human flourishing, economic competitiveness, and national security. All the guidance that I discussed earlier is under review to make sure that it is in alignment with this new executive order. Updates will be available on our AI landing page. I will discuss where to find it in a bit. Also, we received guidance from OMB on the federal acquisition and use of AI. The two memos that are listed here will provide more details, and we are working on ensuring that the AI tools that we are using and incorporating as we go are in compliance with these memos. Next slide, please. Coming to the resources that you can use, any latest examination guidance, reports, Federal Register notices, etc., that are specifically addressing AI, they will be published on the AI landing page, uspto.gov.ai. That's the first link. The next three links are to the Federal Register notices that I discussed in the previous slides. You can find the content of the notice as well as the comments we received from public when you follow the links. The last link is to the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure, the MPEP. It is a guidance document which provides patent examiners, inventors, attorneys, and all with a reference work on the practices and procedures related to the prosecution of patent applications and other proceedings before the USPTO. So with that, I'll end the presentation and take any questions.
Let's see. Thank you so much. Dan, are you available for facilitating? There you are. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Mummalaneri, for that informative presentation. For audience members, if you have questions, please enter them into the chat. I'll get us started by inserting a question I have into the chat. So, Mrs. Mummalaneri, I've put in there, how should the use of AI in the creative process be disclosed in patent applications?
So in the federal ways to notice that we published on inventorship guidance, we gave some information on that. We do not require you to provide any more details regarding the AI systems use than those that are required by statute. For example, 35 U.S.C. 112A, written description and the written description and enablement support for the claim dimension. So, for example, if you are using, if your invention is directed towards like how you are training an AI model where the structure of the AI is required to understand the training process or the invention, then you will disclose the amount of information, the information that is necessary to provide the written description support and enablement support, and also like to meet the statutory requirements, how you are making and using the invention. So there are no special rules for invention made using AI. Sometimes there may be instances where an examiner may need more information from you that is reasonably necessary to properly examine or treat an matter before them or to examine the patent application. In that case, they will make a requirement for information for which you can answer based on the specific ask of the exam.
Okay, thank you. Kind of a related question on there. Well, before I do mine, then we'll go to Jen's here. Is AI causing there to be more noise or junk applications to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office?
If that makes sense. I'm just wondering if like you're seeing a lot more stuff that is just wasting your time, maybe.
Yeah, that was one of the questions we asked in the RFC on prior art and person having ordinary skill in the art, where we asked like 15 different questions, and some of the comments we received was that the USPTO can use AI to parse out these AI created inventions, but that aside, we are using AI tools, which is helping us improve examination efficiencies, and we are hoping to integrate more and more of these tools so that we can properly examine the applications before us and grant patents.
Well, thank you for that response as well. And then the question that I inserted thereafter, Jens, is you addressed this before, saying that using AI does not inherently make a patent application unpatentable, but are there any guidelines in terms of the percentage of human versus AI ratio of the invention process?
So while AI systems cannot be listed as inventors on patent applications or patents, use of an AI system by a natural person does not preclude that natural person from qualifying as an inventor or a joint inventor when there are multiple humans involved in the invention, right? So that one is clear, but we have Federal Circuit case law on inventorship. It asks us to look at the contributions of the natural persons to the conception of the invention. The MPP has more details on this topic for those of you who are interested in learning more. The last link here. Now, conception is the formation in the mind of the inventor of a definite and permanent idea of the completed operative invention as it is hereafter to be applied in practice. That's like how we define conception. Now, those humans who contributed to the conception of the invention are the inventor or joint inventors of the invention. So you look at, one way to look at it is, it's not a quantitative assessment, it's more of a qualitative assessment. Like, what is your contribution to the conception?
Kind of on a case-by-case basis then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, then one last question that's in my mind, I'm going to put into the chat here is how is the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office developing AI expertise within the workforce there?
Yeah, that's earlier, like few years ago, we used to have like AI examining areas where like we were, it was like, it was not like as widespread as we have today, because we have different areas in which AI is being used. At least more than 50% of our patent application filings have AI diffused across all these various sectors. So we are using a few different approaches to develop AI expertise within our examining pods. For example, we are providing tailored AI training to examiners so that they can evaluate the complex AI-related applications. This includes technology-related training, examination guidance-related training, training on the tools that are available to the examiners. We are also encouraging advanced training that they can make use of outside of the US, etc. Now, we are providing the required tools so that we are continually assessing and providing tools to the examiners so that they can leverage these AI functionalities and features to better find prior art or to improve the efficiency or effectiveness of their examination. We are also promoting cross-technology collaboration among the various areas within the office so that we have that collaboration of ideas when they are learning about certain aspects of the technology. We are also hiring new examiners. We are currently hiring. Please look for job postings on usajobs.com website.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Nalini, for a very informative presentation, sharing a lot of official information and inside information from USPTO. And thanks again to both our keynote and invited guest speaker for sharing their time and expertise with us today. This concludes the first portion of our symposium. Now we will take a short break. Please return in a few minutes at 3:15 Eastern Time and 2:15 Central Time. Welcome back, everyone. Now we're excited to begin the lightning talk portion of our symposium, featuring 3 engaging presentations. Our first speaker is Helen Power from the University Library at the University of Saskatchewan from Canada. Her presentation is titled Appraise, Integrating Gen AI into Engineering Capstone Courses. Now let's welcome her. Helen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. You can click to the next slide. Thanks. Perfect. Okay, so today I'm going to be doing a bit of a background, providing context for the institution and my role in the College of Engineering. Then I'll talk about the learning objectives for Gen AI as it relates to what I typically teach. And then I have several activities to go through mapped to those learning objectives. Next slide. Perfect. Next slide again, too. Thanks. All right. The University of Saskatchewan is located in Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis people in Saskatoon, Canada. It's a U15 institution, which is similar to R1 in the US. I was hired by the library in October 2019 to be the librarian embedded within the College of Engineering, and they currently have 8 majors for undergraduate students. In the fall of 2021, a first-year redesign was launched by the college, and this involved a move towards competency-based assessment, and it was an opportunity for me to advocate for information literacy relating to learning outcomes to be incorporated into their curriculum. Next slide. With the new first-year program launching in 2021, I was able to set a foundation of research in first-year students, particularly as they have an in-class assignment associated with what I teach. Next slide. So this graphic helps to visualize this mapping of my one-shots as my level of engagement differs depending on the discipline. So in fall 2025, all 4th-year students would have had that foundation laid out in the first year, and these outcomes are reinforced and elaborated upon to varying degrees depending on which of the programs they're in. Next slide. The 4th-year capstone courses involve small groups of students pairing with an industry partner for a design problem, and they spend the entire academic year researching, designing a solution, and then creating that solution, culminating in a presentation at the end of the year's design expo. These classes are in person, and I usually have a one-shot with them in September or sometimes early October, helping them to identify the literature and research on their topic before they dive into the design. Next slide, please. Oh, next slide again. So now I'm going to talk about the learning objectives. Consulting with the faculty was really key to figure out what I could talk about. So for instance, in first year engineering, the profs have completely forbidden the use of Gen AI, but for the capstone courses, the profs are all allowing it to varying degrees. I encourage them to have clear and consistent communication about expectations to their students, since students are having different expectations coming at them for each class, which is very complicated and confusing. And the use of Gen AI is very closely entwined with academic integrity. Even if a prof doesn't allow for the use of Gen AI, this doesn't mean that students won't be using it. And you can really make a logical argument for incorporating these learning outcomes to a lesser degree, maybe, to ensure that students are well prepared. In my case, I focus on Copilot, as USask has a subscription, and ChatGPT, since it's most popular, that the students are familiar with. Next slide, please. I've listed some of the learning objectives that I cover here, and this includes understanding the ethical aspects and including the transparent and responsible use of Gen AI. Next slide, please. Next slide again. Okay, so I wanted to focus a bit more on my activities in this presentation. So teaching how to evaluate resources has been a priority for the College of Engineering since I started in 2019. And I found that incorporating Gen AI fits really seamlessly into the lesson, as it's often the first place that students go now instead of Google. So this lesson here involves asking Gen AI a question and then critically appraising the resources that it uses. Could you go to the next slide? So in this example that I just have here, I use this for, I asked a general question about bioplastics, and you can see that Copilot gives some results along with the references. And with ChatGPT, you can ask for references as well. So we follow that along to discuss and look at the science website, if you could click to the next slide, that it's referencing for the students. And so we talk about, like, what is the process of getting published? Who is the author? What is their expertise on the topic? And then following that link along. Next slide. They have a link here to the open access paper in Nature Communications. Could you click that as well? Or next slide, sorry. Yeah, perfect. To have a discussion about the peer-reviewed article. So what this allows for a really in-depth discussion about synthesis. How many times has this information been summarized? How can information be lost or misinterpreted? And it really allows for a great discussion about authorship and expertise and how LLMs are not understanding the material, but summarizing it. Next slide, please. So this activity is a little bit more involved and requires some more time. Basically, I have them fact check a Gen AI response with reliable resources, and this gets them to engage with the material and the reliability of these resources. And ideally, they'll realize that the sources Copilot are citing are sometimes not even the sources that they're actually getting the information from, but often are not the best sources to actually answer their question. Next slide, please. So this is a quick one to get them thinking about the ethics of AI, and you'd be surprised how many students are already aware of ethical issues and are concerned about the widespread unregulated use of Gen AI. And this can precede a more formal discussion and slides about the ethical concerns. It's also a really easy activity for hybrid or online classes as well. And here I've used Padlet, which is a free online website that's quite easy to use both for those creating the brainstorming activities and for those engaging with it. Next slide, please. So this is a good chance to get them to split into their groups and think about how AI can be used ethically for their projects. So how can they use it for the different aspects of their projects? And this forces them to engage with the prof's expectations. Also, if the professor has been less than forthcoming about their expectations, it really provides an opportunity for students to get the answers that they need to complete their projects. So some considerations also include dealing with an industry partner. They'll have to have those conversations with their industry partner before doing anything, as they own their own data and they might not be comfortable with it being uploaded into Gen AI. Some examples that I have here is that they could possibly be allowed to use it to find keywords to search, rephrasing their introduction or conclusion, but they are not allowed to upload copyrighted information or use it to write huge chunks of their papers. Next slide, please. So this is an activity that I've incorporated, and it's really fun and easy, and students have really engaged with it. So my question is, what is the Tiffany effect? So this was ChatGPT's answer. This is a topic that I surveyed them. None of them knew what the Tiffany effect was in advance of the class, so it made it really easy that they didn't have any prior knowledge on the topic. So I asked them to read through ChatGPT's answer and rate its accuracy, and then to tell me why they gave it that rating. So a lot of times they'll say, hey, the Tiffany in co-response makes sense, the argument's sound. They'll say 70 or 80% accurate, but this answer is actually 100% made up. And so the main learning outcome here is that it's hard to identify the accuracy of something that they know nothing about. Next slide, please. So this is a kind of similar activity where you get students to identify a topic that they themselves are an expert in that's outside of engineering, can kind of make it a little bit more exciting. So they can critically analyze the results and identify the slight omissions, slight nuances of inaccuracy, for example. So for my example here, I played the video game Dredge through, I asked for a walkthrough, and just by going through it, I could see there was a lot of errors. For instance, it says don't go fishing at night because it's dangerous, but if you don't go fishing at night, you don't catch the night fish, and then you can't complete some of the challenges. So this allows them to kind of recognize it, or detect the bullshit in a topic that they themselves are already an expert in. This is also a good chance to teach them the importance of prompts and how it can be hard to design a prompt when you don't actually know what you're asking for. Next slide, please. So for this activity, you can have them have Gen AI write a bio for them, or just use your own bio for the ease of time. So what's wrong with the output? What are the sources that they use? So this is a good chance to talk about how Copilot uses Bing search results. I asked for a bio and it gave a brief interview I gave as an author several years ago. Definitely not the best result for my bio. And it also made up a little bit to tie it into what the topic was at hand. And then it also cited helenpower.co.uk, which is the website of an actor in Britain. However, none of the information in that bio actually came from that website. Next slide, please. So my final activity that is a reflective activity. It kind of ties into one of my earlier activities a little bit, but I find it's a good wrap-up activity or a 1-minute reflection. How can they use Gen AI for their design projects? What do they have to do first? What do they have to do while using it? And then what do they have to do afterwards? Next slide, please. So I do feedback surveys at the end of every session, and the students were overwhelmingly appreciative that I did teach them about Gen AI and didn't just pretend it didn't exist or assume that they knew how to use it effectively already. I do tend to start with the exercises relating to assessing the outputs before talking about the ethics, because I do think that if I started tearing into AI for copyright infringement, the environmental concerns, etc., it might make the students feel defensive, assuming that I'm against AI, and what I might have to say later they might just block it out. That said, the students actually have quite a bit of anxiety surrounding AI and its expectations in the classroom, which are exacerbated by its rapid development and inconsistencies expressed by their professors on how they are allowed to responsibly use it. And finally, it's really, really important to stay up to date as the landscape of Gen AI is constantly evolving and introducing new complexities to the equation. So I have here an example of ChatGPT glazing, which I don't know if anyone's seen the funny TikToks that people have been experiencing about how ChatGPT just gasses them up really quite a bit. And that's something that if I were to be teaching the class right now, I would be focusing or having a little bit of an activity surrounding that. Great. All right. Next slide, I guess. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. That was awesome.
Thanks.
I really was excited for this balance between the talks and then these short talks, because I knew there were going to be some really great practical components. So the fact that you've got 8 activities there is pretty cool. We had I'll ask the question that I had in the chat first. Somebody asked, Elizabeth asked, I'm curious to know as to how the students are learning about the ethics of Gen AI, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit. What is your observation there?
I've noticed that there is they have noticed a lot on TikTok. It's a bit more critical lately. Like I mentioned, they've been telling me, but also I've been on the TikTok as well, kind of both on the sides of a lot of K-12 teachers have been noticing the detriment of Gen AI, but also the students themselves talking about how they use it and how they'll write something terrible in their paper and ChatGPT will be like, that's great, you're brilliant. And they're making fun of the ChatGPT glazing that's going on right now. So they are at least thinking critically in that sense.
Nice.
But yeah, like, and I think it's just coming at them from all angles. And I think it's just really important to get them to engage with it and not be totally afraid of it, but at the same time, thinking critically of it.
Yeah, great. And Taylor asks, how many of these activities do you typically include in a one shot?
That's a good question. So I usually get about 15 minutes with them. So I definitely don't include all of them. I always like to do the one because my priority is getting them to critically evaluate all types of resources. So I always do the one where they're using ChatGPT to find resources and then evaluating those resources as well. And then I also include the Tiffany effect as really quick one, as well as the bio one, because it's quite easy. So I'd say I usually include like 3 or 4 of them, and you can kind of like pick and choose which ones work the best depending on what your desired outcomes are.
So I have a question because, well, several things struck me, but in the interest of time. So like for me, my homepage is the Google search engine. So it almost, you make it sound like perhaps students are not going to Google first and they're going to an AI engine. Like which one? Like ChatGPT? Is that what they've like locked onto as a homepage?
I think a lot of them have locked onto ChatGPT. At USask, we are telling them, Copilot, we protect your
Okay.
data kind of thing. But I don't know how much they're listening to that as much. But hopefully over the years, we can kind of push them in that direction a little bit.
Yeah, our campus also has a Microsoft Copilot license. Let's see. My son uses Siri and Siri uses ChatGPT. Okay, so they're talking to their device. Possibly is one way of doing it. I did have one other question. The redesign for the competencies back in 2021, were you able, because you'd been there since 2019, had you been able to be a part of those conversations or did they loop you in later?
Yeah, so they had started before I started, like the major conversations, but I
Okay.
did manage to get involved in encouraging them to have that evaluating resources, doing a literature review. So they have it in their second term now, where they do an in-class lit review. So finding sources on their whatever topic that they like.
Okay.
So fortunately, they do have it incorporated. I appreciate a lot that they have an assignment associated with it, because previously it's like, how am I going to get you to care about finding peer-reviewed articles when you're not being assessed on it for quite some time, basically. Yeah.
And then I think because we should do this, what feedback have you received from the professors in the College of Engineering for this effort you've given?
Yeah, they've been appreciative. I've mostly been focusing on 4th year at this stage, and I'm hoping to expand to other years as they welcome it a bit more. Because like I mentioned, 1st year, they're not allowing the students to use Gen AI at all. And I asked if I could include it in the class, but it was a no. But for those who are teaching the 4th year courses, they have been grateful. Yeah.
Good. Thank you so much, Helen. I'm going to let Anna take us to the next speaker.
Okay, many thanks, Helen, for sharing your valuable work and the interesting practical ideas with us. I'm going to try some myself. Following that inspiring presentation, we now turn to our second one. We're pleased to hear from Christy Caldwell and Wynn Tranfield of the University Library at the University of California, Santa Cruz. Their talk is titled AI Research Under Review, a Systematic Approach to Evaluating Relevance. Please join me in welcoming them. Christy and Wynn, take it away.
Thank you, Anna. I'm Christy, and together with Wynn, we are the STEM librarians at UC Santa Cruz and support faculty, grads, and undergrads. We noticed that we were being asked about the value of various AI tools, primarily for discovery, and we didn't see this type of comparison in the literature. So this talk will focus on our methodology, and we will give you some early, in some cases very, very early results as this project is still in process. Next slide, please. We decided we wanted to evaluate the effectiveness of AI research tools in retrieving relevant scientific literature. We wanted to assess the efficiency of these AI tools compared to conventional library databases that our campus population tends to use or is subscribed to use. And we wanted to identify strengths and limitations of both database search approaches for scholarly research. So to do this, we decided upon 6 discovery tools, 2 popular large multidisciplinary databases, Web of Science and Google Scholar, and 4 AI tools, Cite, Elicit, Epsilon, and SciSpace. Some of these AI tools have some level of freemium service, but most work best with a paid subscription, which is what we did. Next slide, please. And most of these AI databases use Semantic Scholar as their source. Next slide, please. When we started this project, there were few, if any, studies discussing AI research tools. These tools rely on retrieval augmented generation, RAG pipelines, which takes the user query, retrieves information from somewhere, usually Semantic Scholar or a number of places, and then uses the large language model to create research summaries and along with providing the citations. So we were concerned about the promises these tools were making with the lack of evidence of promises measured. There were still very few notes in the literature at that time referring to the actual performance of these tools, but increasing mentions of UX concerns for undergraduates and concerns about incorrect information in the summaries. Next slide, please. Take it away, Wynn.
Thanks. We use systematic review methodology as an inspiration, but we didn't mimic it for a few reasons. First, searches in AI databases are not reproducible, but we wanted to use the same search strategy between databases as much as possible. Some of these AI databases require a question or a phrase that's formatted in natural language. And we also really wanted to make sure that this was applicable to undergraduate students and how they search and skim results. So the searches themselves were relatively simple. We selected research questions based on recent theses published in the 10 disciplines listed. These disciplines have varied information needs and are also represented on our campus. So we felt like they would provide a pretty diverse STEM sample. This data was messier than expected because some AI tools just aren't built to export to citation managers in bulk. Google Scholar also not built for that. Some have author name conventions of first name, comma, last name, which required some cleaning. And other tools like Semantic Scholar truncate abstracts, so only a partial abstract is captured if you export the full citation. They just haven't been honed by librarian customers for years, unlike a lot of traditional databases. Next slide, please. So from these search results, we created a relevancy questionnaire for each subject citations and abstracts and deduped to just kind of clean it up a bit. We felt strongly that this study was just to recommend tools for students. So we needed to have students involved in the process. So we hired students to assess different abstracts for their relevancy. Students were compensated for their time and trained in this process. We were later told that this training was incredibly beneficial for them in other areas, which was great. To lessen the bias, two students would judge the relevancy for each citation, sometimes more if the answers really disagreed. Here on the slide, there's an example of what the Qualtrics screening page looked like for students. Next slide, please. This is the tip of the iceberg, right? It's a snapshot in time and space. And since one of the known problems with AI tools is the lack of reproducibility, if we were to replicate this study, it would have very different results. The decision-making process was intentionally from the perspective of undergraduates, so subject experts may have a different take. Since we started this project, Web of Science has introduced an AI research assistant. We did not use that. And lastly, these AI databases package large language models that summarize the articles, but we didn't examine those as part of this project. Next slide, please. Despite all this, it was really a major study. We have a lot of data. It took the better part of a year. Some of the data has been in our hands for a long time, and we've had a chance to really chew on it. But we just wrapped up the relevancy screening portion of this study very recently, and we have not had a chance to sit with the results. But we are excited to see what you think and share as much as we can in this short talk. Next slide, please.
So these relevancy rankings allowed students to rate a title abstract, and we assigned numbers to them. So highly relevant was 4, relevant was 3, potentially relevant 2, and not relevant 1. And this allowed us to make an average of all the student reviews for a citation. So these box and whisker box plots show the range of citation relevancies, with the X in each box, if you can see that, being the mean, which is useful to see in comparison to the other boxes. Also, a short box shows consistent rankings, with a long box showing mixed reviews over the most part. There was strong variation, both between the databases within the disciplines and between the disciplines. We were surprised to see Web of Science rank so low across most disciplines, but not all. Next slide, please. Here are 2 more discipline results. We did run a publication year analysis, but for biomolecular engineering, where we found that Epsilon papers skewed much older. Is that why it underperformed for relevancy? Note that Web of Science fared well for computer science and engineering. Next slide, please. So as we sit with these results, we have some early questions. First, we wonder why some disciplines have far different relevancy outcomes than others. This could lead to different recommendations for different disciplines. We were surprised to see Web of Science rank lower than some of the newer AI databases, and we wonder how integrating Web of Science Assistant would change that result. And we remind everyone of our limitation slide as well. Next slide, please. This slide is looking at an aggregate of database relevancy for all the subjects, minus the 2 noted there. And we see less variation when we look at this picture, but we still see Web of Science rank slightly lower than most. Next slide, please.
Here, this chart shows that each tool had enough resource overlap to validate the search, but each tool had many unique results. So as we analyze relevancy, this could impact recommendations, as some of the more generalist databases are really more equipped for certain disciplines than others. Next slide, please. And here's this same uniqueness data, but for each discipline. And you can see that there are differences among the disciplines, and that's going to take more unpacking in conjunction with our relevancy data to get down to. For example, in chemistry, Google Scholar and SciSpace did really well for relevancy, but SciSpace had double the unique citations that Google Scholar did. So that's really interesting. Next slide, please. And we also want to measure the format. So it's not just journal articles that are retrieved in these results. This took a lot of data cleaning, and we've done this for ecology so far. It shows a preponderance of journal articles, but there's a really long tail of non-journal article formats that could be anything from an undergraduate senior thesis to patent. So we're finding a lot of variation there. Next slide, please. And so now that we've taken a look, what do we tell people? What do we tell undergrads specifically? Our immediate takeaway is AI still isn't magic, and you're still served by going to more than one database to have a comprehensive literature search. AI is popping up in places we don't expect. We still don't really know if the summaries matter to students or if they introduce more confusion as they attempt to differentiate between abstracts and summaries. And Web of Science Assistant is going to be something to watch. Next slide.
Well, thank you, Christy and Wynn, very much for your informative presentation. Now's a good time to put in any questions anybody has. I'll start with one on my mind. I put it in the chat there. Any thoughts on the recent trend of AI agents and how they could be used to do searches and literature reviews?
Can you clarify what you mean by AI agents?
Yeah, it's a fairly recent trend I've seen where you're basically telling AI to do a series of tasks for you, and then it just sequentially carries them out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds interesting to measure. It would be interesting what if they're using RAG to do that, or you know, what's the underlying architecture.
Hmm.
There
Yeah,
would
I'm not
still have
sure.
to be a human in the loop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And that makes me think of another question, is how can students minimize the effect of just the built-in bias in AI systems on their overall results? You train them how to kind of double check things?
It's a standard part of our classes to talk about the variability, the verifiability of the information that they retrieve, and that hasn't changed with AI, but has become more important because of the confidence that AI presents the information with. So I think we've wrapped that into that talk with some good examples like those provided by Helen Power.
Excellent, thank you.
I have asked a question. What tech did you use to compare and identify the unique citations?
Oh, we had to do a lot of data cleaning, and so it was just a lot of comparing and spreadsheets. You know, there's easy deduping in citation managers, but because a lot of the data was so messy, we did have to do a lot of handwork.
And AI technology does do the hallucination. They make up the journals. They look like a legitimate journal, but it's a journal article, but it's not. So your group has also checked each citation, make sure they are real.
So we were using tools that use retrieval augmented generation, which means they have to connect to like a known linked entity. So all of the citations we retrieved were from actual articles. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, different from a large language model. Yeah.
Looks like we do have a few more questions coming in the chat. If there's time, I'll read that first one from Jennifer. In engineering, gray literature is so important. Any thoughts about the ability or not of AI for finding gray literature, since most were journal articles?
I think it's exciting and worth exploring. It still doesn't solve the problem of reproducibility. And a lot of these tools we see are using Semantic Scholar. And if that gray literature isn't indexed by them, it's not going to matter. So it's another tool to add to the toolbox, but it's not going to be the easy button.
Okay.
Why don't we go with Dave Bloom's question and then we'll move to Christian.
Okay, let me read Dave Bloom's question, and we'll make it our last just for the restraint of time. I may have missed this, but in evaluating for relevancy, how are you balancing precision and recall? Were there certain tools that returned a lot more results, but also included a lot more noise? Wondering how much this might be offset with filtering, sorting options, etc.
Absolutely, yeah. We recognize that, but we also recognize that undergraduate students tend not to use filters or sorting options. And so we tried to reproduce the actions of an undergraduate student and just took the first top 50 results. And so there's problems there, but we were trying to recreate real world situations.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Again.
That was a fantastic research presentation. Thank you for sharing, Christy and Wayne. And finally, to close out our lightning talks today, we are pleased to welcome Christian Headley, the head of customer success at Keenious, an AI research tool company from Europe. His presentation is titled Changing AI Views Among Tomorrow's Librarians. Christian, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, and hopefully the best for last, I suppose, but really fantastic presentations so far. And yes, this short talk about charting AI views among tomorrow's librarians. So we are a group from Norway, and that's where this study took place, which is a slightly different perspective, and I hope it's useful for you. As I said, I really enjoyed a lot of the things being talked about today, and just a few little comments, as I see in the chat and from the other speakers as well. It's very important when talking about AI to make a distinction between the broad variety of AI tools and technologies out there. So I think in the case of Keenious, maybe some of you have heard of it. I'm sure majority have not. But it's not a generative AI tool, so it's not producing text for users, students, or researchers. And really the emphasis of it is about finding relevant research. But I don't want to dwell too much on just the company itself, because really this was done in conjunction with a Norwegian institution. If you wouldn't mind going on to the next slide. So when we started this project off, it was really meant to be a once-off opportunity to go and visit some library and information science students at Oslo Met. We didn't realize that we were embarking on a so far 4-year journey, and it's going to continue hopefully long into the future. So we're very fortunate, and we couldn't have really asked for better timing. Given we started surveying these groups of students in 2021, in the fall of 2021, and we do so every year now. So that placed us just before ChatGPT became so widely known in the public, which I think we'll all agree has kind of shaken things up a little bit in the library space and generally in academics. So we're very fortunate to start collecting information before that and now afterwards. But essentially what we've been doing is going into a class that's normally around an introduction to the Keenious tool, because students at Oslo Met have access to it. And we do a short survey with these third-year students. So they're in their penultimate year of their course. And because it's a 4-year course in Norway. And so we get to survey the same group of students at the same point in time. Sorry, so not the same students, but the same cohort of students in each year. So they have no idea what their predecessors have answered in the survey, but it gives us a nice snapshot. And we use a survey for this with both closed and open questions, and we're asking them about their perceptions of AI in the library. So being LIS students, they know more than the average student does, but they don't have years of experience and some entrenched ideas perhaps. So it's an interesting group to speak to. If you'd go on to the next slide, please. So I'll touch on just 3 interesting findings that we've come across so far. As I say, I hope we get to continue. But generally, there is optimism about AI in libraries, and that is, again, very broad term, AI. When we started out, it didn't seem like it was going to be such a wide range of technologies and tools, but that's how it has panned out. There's an increase in AI literacy from our perspective, but that's led to some divided opinions, which is not too surprising looking at the discussions here today. And then lastly, there's a divergence in the interest in AI tools, which is, we think, noteworthy. So if you pop on to the next slide, please. So a few rather simple graphs coming up here. But starting off in 2021, generally people were optimistic about AI in the library space. So you can see the question that was being asked below, 5 being very optimistic, and it cuts off at 2 down there because it made sense to narrow the scale a little bit. And we can see the optimism peaked in fall of 2022. So as Dr. Lowe mentioned, in November 2022, ChatGPT was really launched to a lot of the public, so people became more aware of what could be done with it. And then we noticed that the line goes downwards. Still generally optimistic, but it's interesting that it was that year that it took a change of direction. So perhaps that was increasing discussion about AI in academics from their lecturers and also from the news and other sources. If you'd pop onto the next slide then, please. So increased AI literacy, with AI being discussed more amongst all students in Norway following ChatGPT's release to the public. We feel that generally AI literacy has increased compared to 2021 when we started doing this survey in conjunction with Oslo Met. And this was an interesting question that we were posing to them. It was about how do they feel their attitude towards AI is compared to the same group of students 1 year earlier. So it's 1 year earlier. They're not aware of what their predecessors have answered about how optimistic they are about AI in the library setting. But interestingly, if we remember the last graph that was there, this is 2024, so it's the least optimistic group that we have seen so far. And interestingly, about half of them said that they thought they were more optimistic than the previous year, but they, as we know, are less optimistic than the previous 3 years. So that's interesting. Still a healthy number. Just over a third mentioned that they felt they were more skeptical of AI in libraries. But something else that we thought was interesting about this was that the most common reason given for why they felt they were either more optimistic or more skeptical was that they felt they knew more about AI than their previous cohort. So both groups going in different directions, but giving the same reason as to why they think they were going in that direction. So that we felt that was noteworthy. And then thirdly here, again, not to focus too much on it being Keenious, but this was a trying to model out a little bit how people's general attitude are towards AI in the library, or these cohorts' attitude towards AI in the library. As we saw before, it was dipping and being it's at the lowest now in 2024. But then their feelings towards a tool like Keenious, which is again non-generative and quite different to some of the more famous tools out there, how that's stayed consistently higher up. From discussions, we feel that that is coming from a greater understanding of how AI is a broad topic and a big group, and in fact there's greater nuance within that of what it can be used for and how it's being applied. So again, positive. We think the students are getting a better understanding of AI in the library space, what that really means, rather than just this big concept of artificial intelligence in general. So if you pop onto the next slide there, this is really summarizing things. I think I saw a little hand pop up, so I'm coming to the end of my time. But generally, very interesting study. We're very fortunate to be doing it and continuing, and we'll be surveying the next intake of students this fall. And we continue to look forward to seeing the results of that. So I think I will just wrap it up there and leave some time for questions. I did see some comments in there, and apologies for my use of entrenched ideas. You may hear my slightly nervous voice. It's a rather large crowd. Maybe I should correct entrenched ideas, more established ideas of practices given they don't have these cohorts of students, don't have years of experience teaching and conducting research, so they haven't built up the habits of using particular tools already, and then maybe having to make a change. Rather, they're fresh to the whole topic, but they're still more knowledgeable than your average student who is maybe doesn't give information literacy too much thought. So apologies to correct myself there. And you can go on to the next slide, please. That's my email if anybody has any comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian. I just was wondering, as you were speaking, if there was a possibility that in the study you might have heard or maybe noticed any of the students picking tools from a bias of the environmental load. So for example, they may not enjoy ChatGPT because of a perceived environmental impact, or if you maybe had heard of any other reasoning for why they would be optimistic about some tools and not so much for others.
So generally we didn't get into the specifics of naming tools. So that comparison of Keenious versus the general term of AI in the library was that was because we were asking specifically about their feelings towards Keenious, given that's how we kind of started the study. I think generally the concern about the climate impact and impact on resources has become more prominent in probably the last year or 2 years. It certainly wasn't a topic in 2021 when we started this. So, but it's interesting to see how those concerns have come to the fore.
Thank you. And I welcome anybody who would like to ask a question in the chat. In the US, there is a concern about pollution in the minority prevalent areas in Tennessee. So that does bring up an interesting point. Are there different concerns in Norway among the student population?
So I would say that I would not have the best idea on that. I'm not Norwegian, and I unfortunately don't speak Norwegian. So I tend to deal more with US, UK, and New Zealand, and many other places that we work. But yeah, I've heard some concerns, all right, from faculty and researchers. Yeah, sorry. And just to clarify, Keenious, we do have an impact statement. We don't train AI models, so our impact is very low, but it's certainly something to be aware of and to ask your providers for.
And then Jill has another question. Are there policies, are there policies about which AI tools they can use in their coursework? Were you aware of any stipulations as far as like what they could use?
Yes, I've seen more and more institutions offering an AI policy for their students, both in Norway, and I think it's becoming more common in the US as well. Often breaking out generative AI tools versus other AI tools, like, I mean, even Grammarly, for example, which does incorporate AI, but perhaps isn't seen the same as ChatGPT. And generally, I think the emphasis is on documenting how the tool has been used. So Dr. Lowe was mentioning how he calls out in any of his work, mentioning what parts have been assisted by AI. I think that's a simple example of some good practice.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. This is Jen Sims. I'll just wrap us up by thanking all of our speakers and the committee. My co-committee members who are here today are Stephanie, Anna, Jill, Dan, myself, and then we have some others who are in the background. And we appreciate your time, and I'll stay on the Zoom for a little while if anybody has some follow-up, but I posted the links and we'll put the recording up as soon as possible and send it around. Have a good evening. Always nice to see so many thank yous. Thank you to all of you. Let's see. Let's see. We got Christian still here. Nice to see you. Happy to chat here in a second. It's always a question whether you. Yeah.